So Scott Talley here from Network in Action, and we're got my good buddy Stan Voelkel with Voelkel Commercial Advisors this morning. Good morning, Stan.
Good morning, Scott. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing about like you are, struggling with the homeschooling more than our businesses.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Stan's got two
Who would have thought it
teenage.
was going to be so challenging, right?
Yeah. Stan's got two daughters like I do, and I have three, but two that I'm schooling, and so it's a lot of work. But listen, we're glad you're here this morning. So I want to take a few minutes and just sort of talk about, there's so much we're reading. What is your perspective on the commercial real estate market, where it's headed, what people should be doing, all those kind of things? Any advice you can give them?
Well, I talked to a client the other day, and they actually went to their landlord and said, hey, look, we can only pay half rent for this month. And this was at the beginning of April. And fortunately, their landlord said, hey, look, we understand what you're going through. And this is not every landlord. So you're going to get a different response from every landlord. The good thing that this guy did was he was proactive.
Yeah.
He reached out to his landlord and said, hey, I've got a problem. I'm laying off 60% of my staff. I've got to do something about this. I'm just hemorrhaging. Fortunately, the landlord was very nice and said, hey, look, we'll give you the next 2 months of rent. You don't pay it. We're going to put it in next year. We're going to just amortize it over next year.
Yeah.
So they're very fortunate to do that. I think the worst thing you can do is not pay and not say anything, because if you do that, the landlord, technically, you can go into default. One of the things that puts you in default is not paying your rent within a certain number of days after the beginning of the month. And if you do that, then all these other things that are in your lease can basically put you in a bad situation. So the best thing you can do is reach out to your landlord. If you can pay your rent, pay it. Or if you can figure out a way to defer it into the future, then do that. But the worst thing you do is not talk to them about it.
Okay. I always like to try to find a silver lining. And from your perspective, there's going to be a lot of great properties available. And as a person who represents a lot of tenants in negotiations, you're going to be in a really strong place, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And so there are a couple of different areas where I think, the vacancy rate in Houston was about 17%. Obviously, that number is going to go a lot higher, not just because of the COVID virus, but also oil and gas in the teens. So you're going to have a lot of opportunities in the marketplace. If you're a tenant that's going to be renewing or relocating in the next 12 to 18 months, now's the time to start talking to your landlord. I mean, it's a great opportunity, and there are going to be so many more concessions that are going to be coming to the tenant that, if you just create the leverage by starting early, you're gonna win big.
Yeah, and that's really where a pro like you comes in. I know a gentleman, Robert, that I referred you to. I was talking to him last night, and he was just going on and on about it. He says, I know that this project we're working on isn't exactly in Stan's wheelhouse, but he goes, his knowledge, is worth so much. And when you think about, in your situation, that the other party's paying your fee anyway, it's really crazy not to reach out to you and get a professional's help. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. And I say even more so now coming in the next few months because of what you just spoke about.
Right. Well, so, yeah, and thank you for referring to Robert. He's an interesting guy and a really, really good guy to work with. But, the thing about, if he were just doing it on his own, there's so many pitfalls that can come up that you just don't realize what you don't know. And all the advantages are on the landlord side.
Yes.
If you don't have someone working on your side to represent you, and people just don't realize that. So, there's definitely a lot of pitfalls and things that you can run afoul with.
Yeah, it's I tell people all the time, and usually it's inexperienced business people. It's just crazy to try to negotiate that on your own when your service to me is basically at no cost anyway, so It's just crazy the expertise you have. And I learned the hard way years ago in my first lease about what I didn't know. One of the things I didn't know is that I could get a guy like you and all your expertise and not have to pay a fee, that the landlord was going to pay it. So yeah, never again. I read an interesting article. The twist of the article is, now's a great time to open a restaurant. I thought, how crazy is that? But the basis of the article was that there's a lot of restaurants that are in primo locations that aren't going to survive, and you'll be able to pick up a great location, which isn't always easy. Right. There's opportunities here in the midst of all the madness, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are going to be a lot of opportunities. I'm working with a lawyer who's been leasing space, and I've been representing for years. But his lease expires in January 2021, and he wants to buy. He's had the itch to buy something for a while.
Yeah.
So we kind of decided after doing his last lease that, hey, 18 months out, let's start looking for something. So we're now looking for something, and it's going to work out really well for him because I think there are going to be some properties that are going to be coming on the market that wouldn't otherwise be on the market because of what's going on. I mean, you hate to, have people lose their business or something like that,
Yeah.
but there's some people that are going to win from it. And so there are definitely opportunities, whether it be a restaurant closing down and someone coming in and picking up that great location, or my client, the law firm, getting a great building for their business.
So just to be clear, you represent the whole gamut in commercial real estate. You can help someone with a lease. You can help someone on the other side trying to lease a space out, purchase the space, sell a space.
So most of what I do is representing the user of the space. So I don't represent the big office towers in downtown Houston or anywhere. I represent the tenants that go into those buildings.
Right.
And I represent their interests. I'm basically like a buyer's agent in a commercial transaction, but I do have clients that, like last year, I sold a 45,000 square foot office building for a client.
Yeah.
And so I help them. So if they want to buy a building or buy land and build a building, I will help them with that. They're the user of the space. So I'm working on their behalf. I'm basically, like I said, buyer's agent that you'd see in a residential transaction. I help you throughout the whole process, but at the end of the day, I get paid by the seller of the property or the landlord.
Right. Awesome. So how does our audience reach you? Best way, email or phone or?
Yeah. Email is Stan, STAN, at V as in Victor, OELKELCA.com, or phone number 713-385-1997.
Awesome. Thanks for taking time today. Really appreciate your expertise and everything you bring to the table. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Scott. I really appreciate it. And thanks NIA as well.
All right. Stay healthy, buddy.
Okay. See you.
Okay. Bye-bye.